Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this mini lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you a strumming etude that I wrote, which I think is going to be perfect for the intermediate player. But before we get to talking about tips for playing this song, I wanted to share with you how it was composed. Well, a few weeks ago, I went to the bookstore and I purchased this book, which if you're a fan of horror or Halloween or anything related to that genre, definitely check that book out. It is super duper cool. Well, I had it sitting in front of me, and on the cover is a werewolf, and honestly, it was kind of frightening to see something scary looking back at you. So that's how this song came about. I was literally staring at the cover, and I think I was also thinking about the show The Last of Us. If you haven't seen it, check it out. We did a lesson on the theme song for it, which you can check out by clicking this link. But this song kind of had both of those in mind. It had maybe a werewolf is haunting me and the eerie feeling that you get when you watch The Last of Us. So when you listen to this piece of music, you feel a sense of urgency, you feel uncertain, unsure, you feel a little bit scared, and I think this is a really fun strumming etude, especially for the Halloween season. So with all that in mind, let's talk a little bit about how it is from a playing perspective. So at its heart, this is a strumming etude, and for the most part, this piece actually uses one strum pattern that is repeated throughout. And that strum pattern uses very simple down and up strumming, but it also uses a ghost note. Now, if you have never done the ghost note strum technique, you want to jump into this lesson to learn what it is and how to do it. It's going to set you up for success with learning this song. So with that in mind, let's take a step back. Let's talk about this lesson. So in this video, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play the entire etude. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for ML25. That is the lesson number for this lesson. And also on that page will be the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish, just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. So with that said, let's go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this. Now he's going to be using a high G ukulele to teach you how to do this tune. You can use a low G if you want, it works for either tuning. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and then I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hello! In today's lesson, we're going to be learning this awesome strumming etude for mini lesson 25. Let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to bring the camera down. So we're going to start by playing this sort of G chord. It's kind of this partial G. The way that we're going to play is take our index finger and place it on the 7th fret of the C string and lightly touch the E string with it. This is actually one of the more challenging parts of the whole song, but it sounds quite cool. And we're going to take our pinky and place it here on the 10th fret of the A string. So what happens here is we're having the G, the C, both playing that G note. The E string is muted by that curvature of the index not completely pressing but just touching, and then the pinky playing here on the A. If that's challenging for you, it's okay to use these other two interior fingers to just lightly touch the E string, but the point is that we want to kind of mute it. And when we've done this, we're then going to do this very basic strum pattern in 6/8. What that's going to be is using our index finger on our strumming hand. We're going to flick the finger down over around here where the fretboard meets the body of the ukulele, and we're going to do that for our down. Then we're going to miss the strings coming back up so that we can then do a down, up, down, up. And that's half of the pattern for the bar. So what that looks like is down, miss, down, up, down, up. And then we're going to do that again. Down, miss, down, up, down, up. And so what that gives us is that first measure now with the timing and the strumming and the chord. And in time, that first measure should be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when we go into the second bar here, we're going to continue holding the same chord, and we're going to do the almost same strum pattern. We're going to do the same down, down, up, but instead of doing a second pattern of that, we just do a single down and let that ring for the rest of the bar. And so that second measure should sound something like this in time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the two bars together for this intro part should sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From this point, we go on to melody A, and we're going to jump down to a G minor chord. To play this G minor, we're going to take our middle finger, place it on the 2nd fret of the C string, ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string, and our index finger on the 1st fret of the A string. Now, when we're doing this, we're going to be using that same strumming technique we just talked about, but we're going to introduce another technique, and this technique is called the ghost note. We actually have a whole course here at Rock Class 101 that uses the ghost note and shows a lot of different examples of it. This is a pretty simple exercise with the ghost note that any player can use. All that we're going to do is take our thumb here, and we're going to do a down strum with just the thumb on the G. So we come a little bit angled outward, still moving the hand down like a down strum, just hitting that G string. Normally this is best with a high G, but with this song it works really well with both high and low G tunings. And when you notice on the tab, whenever that 0 G is written like this, it's just the thumb going to do a down strum for that ghost note. So with that in mind, the pattern that we're going to play here is going to use that ghost note. It's going to do a down first, and then it's going to do a ghost note, up strum, and then a chunk. Now, if you haven't done a chunk before, we've got a video linked to check it out. Now, chunks, the trick is making sure that you're both hitting the strings and muting them almost simultaneously, but what actually happens is the mute happens just prior to the strike of the strings. Some people chunk more with the front of their hand, like this. Some people use more the back of the hand, like me. As long as you get that chunk sound created exclusively with your strumming hand, doing it right. Again, if you've never done the chunk, check out that video. It'll be a lot of help. But after we do the chunk, we're then going to come up with our index finger just as a normal up strum. So the first half of that bar goes down, miss, ghost, up, chunk, up. Now the good news is, while this is only half of the first bar of this melody, this is the pattern that's used throughout almost the entire song. So you may spend an hour just working on this first half, but once you have it, you have most of the song done for the rhythm and keeping that hand moving. So again, the first half of that bar, down, miss, ghost, up, chunk, up. And here's what's cool. When we go on to this next half of the bar, we just take this index finger on our fretting hand off, and we do the exact same pattern, which is down, miss, ghost, up, chunk, up. And in time, those two sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pretty cool, right? As we go into the 4th bar here, we're going to take our pinky finger, we're going to add it here to the 3rd fret of the A string, and at this time it's also okay to add the index back to the 1st fret of the A string. And the reason is we're going to play this now with the 3rd fret here with our pinky. Same pattern, down, ghost up, chunk up, and then for the second half of the bar, we're going to take that pinky off and play 0, 2, 3, 1, down, ghost up, chunk up. Exact same pattern that we did before. So measure 4 in time sounds something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As we go on now to the 5th measure here, what we're going to notice is it then plays a D chord. And to play this D chord, we're going to use 3 fingers. Use your middle finger to kind of pivot over. So the index comes up to the 2nd fret of the G string, and the ring finger comes underneath to the 2nd fret of the E string. It's also okay to do it with a bar if you're more comfortable with that. The partial bar, making sure you have the A string open. Really, whatever works for you. I think the 3-finger method is really good for this, though. We're going to do the same pattern that we've been doing, and we're going to do this for the full bar on 5. So it's going to go down, ghost up, chunk up, down, ghost up, chunk up. So the same pattern we've been doing. And then going right into measure 6 here, it's exactly the same. Another down, ghost up, chunk up, down, ghost up, chunk up. So it's the same measure repeated for 5 and 6. So in time, 5 and 6 should sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's cool about this is it has a repeat for this melody A. So we're going to play these 4 bars twice. So that you can hear it, here's now measures 3 through 6 played with that repeat so that you can hear it going all the way through. Notice the pattern's the same, which means my hand moves consistently. Looks something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. here we go on to now melody B, and to play this, we're going to take an E flat chord, and to do that, we're going to take our middle and ring fingers here from the D, and we're going to slide them each up 1 fret. So you see how the middle is on 3 of the C, and the ring on 3 of the E. Then the index comes down here to the 1st fret of the A string, making sure we turn these fingernails towards our right shoulder, make it nice and easy. We're going to do the same pattern we've been doing for the first half, and then we're going to play open on the A string. Just take your index finger off, do the same thing for the second half of this bar. Going right into the 8th measure now, we're going to add our pinky finger here to the 3rd fret of the A string. And when we do that, it's okay to add the index finger back to the 1 on the A as well, just because the beginning part of 8 is going to play the same pattern with the 3s now. And then it's going to take that pinky off for the 1. So what these 2 measures sound like in time should be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Going into measures 9 and 10 here, we're going to go back to our D chord. So these 2 interior fingers just slide down 1 fret. Index jumps up to the 2nd fret of the G string. We're going to do a full bar of just this D with the same pattern we've been doing. So our down, ghost up, chunk up, down, ghost up, chunk up. And then into the 10th bar, we're going to play what's called a D sus4. I love this chord. All that you do is take this ring finger and slide it up 1 fret to the 3rd fret of the E string, leaving the other 2 fingers where they are. We're going to do the same pattern, down, ghost up, chunk up. And then for the second half of this bar, we're going to move it back down to the D chord. Ring finger just pivots right back down to the 2nd fret of the E string. Down, ghost up, chunk up. So what that means is measures 9 and 10, same pattern, just with some chords now, is going to look something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Going now into the 8th measure, or excuse me, the 11th measure is going to be now the E flat chord again, which is going to be the same thing that we played on measure 7. So the 0, 3, 3, 1. So remember we just came from this D chord, slide these 2 fingers up, add the index here on 1 of the A string. So when we start the 11th measure, we're going to do that. Just like we did before, we take the index off. And then going into the 12th measure here, we add the pinky finger just like we did before. But the second half of this 12th measure is different than what we played back on the 8th measure when we played the same little motif. Because what we do is we're then going to do a down on the 0, 3, 3, 3, and then we're going to do down on 0, 3, 3, 5. The goal is to stretch the pinky out here. This is a bit of a stretch with these fingers. If you need to do some sort of bar or whatever else, that's okay, but we want to work towards the flexibility here. Getting a down there, and then a down back on the 1. So pinky comes off while the index is coming on. So that last part of that measure goes, and this is a hiccup point. When I say hiccup point, all that I mean is you're in a groove, everything's working, and then you kind of forget this is coming, and then it's like, and it feels like you're kind of hiccuping with your performance. So good thing to do is to sit and practice just going 4, 5, 6, and get that comfortable, because what it sounds like in time, 11 and 12, should be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sounds pretty cool though, doesn't it? And then from here on measure 13, we go back to our D chord. So slide these fingers down, add the index back, just like we played it before. That's going to be the same down, ghost up, chunk up, down, ghost up, chunk up. So that measure is the same as what we've played before. And then it gets very interesting here on measure 14. I think this is the hardest measure of the whole piece, but it's a lot of fun to play when you got it right. So let's break it down. We're going to play an E flat, so these 2 fingers slide up. Index goes to 1 on the A. We're going to do a down up, chunk up, right? That's different, isn't it? Every other time we've played every pattern, for the most part in this, it's been a down miss and then followed with usually a ghost up, chunk up. This one's different. It's going down, up, chunk, up. That makes it a little bit more challenging. Because then after this up, we're then going to do another chunk. And then on the up here, we switch to a D by sliding these 2 fingers down and adding the index finger here to the 2nd fret of the G. And we're going to go up, down, That makes this quite tricky because it's switching on the offbeat, on the up strum, which makes it what we call syncopation, and it makes it feel a little bit unintuitive to play. So this one can require some extra work. It looks like this though. Here's just measure 13. It goes down, up, chunk, down. And then we pause for the rest of the measure. So 13 into 14 nice and slow should sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Real cool sound though. And this concludes that melody B. So let's go and hear what that whole melody B should sound like, starting at measure 7, going all the way through measure 14. Should be something like this, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good news, from here we go back to melody A, and we actually play the exact same thing we did the first time we play melody A. Starts at the same G minor, goes to the same G sus2 and same G sus4 and same G minor. So measures 15 and 16 are exactly the same as what we played at 3 and 4. And in time, 15 and 16 should sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which is just awesome. And here's what's even cooler. As we go into 17 and 18, it's exactly the same as 5 and 6. We go to our D chord, just sliding the fingers in place. 2, 2, 2, 0. Do the same. Down, go step, chunk up, down, go step, chunk up. And 18, the same thing. Down, go step, chunk up, down, go step, chunk up. Which is awesome. So 17, 18 in time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll notice there's a repeat here and it says fade on repeat. So what you want to do is you're going to play this whole section twice through, just like you did with melody A the first time, but the second time through get softer and softer and softer and softer until you're basically not playing at all. And that could sound something like this. So here is melody A the last time, measures 15 through 18 with the repeat and fade. Should be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You hear I got softer as I went through to create that fade effect. I'm going to bring the camera back up to me, and there you have it. That is mini lesson number 25, this really fun strumming etude that utilizes the ghost note technique that we've done a course here on Rock Class 101 with. This one, what's cool though, is it's compatible with both high and low G and just sounds really cool. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I'll look forward to seeing you next time on the next lesson here on Rock Class 101. Thanks so much.
Alright guys, so this mini lesson was a lot of fun. This is a very Halloween-esque inspired piece of music, and yeah, I just love writing Halloween tunes. I'm going to put a few more that I have written in the description box below, so if you want to learn some more original etudes that are Halloween inspired, definitely check them out in the description box below. But before we wrap up this video, I wanted to give you a friendly reminder that if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for ML25. That is the lesson number for this lesson. And don't forget too that the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer is also on that page, so you can hit play, watch that tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this tune, and I will catch you in the next lesson. Take care.